Hailey, and today I'm going to be talking about the books that helped me to find my way. So today's video is sponsored by Penguin Random House in honor of the upcoming release of I Have Lost My Way by Gayle Forman. Gayle Forman is the author of many a hard-hitting contemporary such as the If I Stay duology, the Just One Day duology, and I Was Here. I Have Lost My Way is her latest novel that is coming out on March 27th. This book follows three characters who have all kind of lost their way, and they end up coming together and realizing that the way through their own struggles might be helping each other. Freya has lost her voice while recording her debut album. Haroon is planning on running away from everyone that he knows and loves. And Nathaniel arrives in New York City with nothing but a backpack and a desperate plan. Based on all of Gayle Forman's other novels, I'm thinking that this is going to be a book that really hits home and is very impactful emotionally, and I am very excited for it. I also have a really exciting pre-order incentive to tell you guys about, so I will have the link down below for this, but if you pre-order I Have Lost My Way or you send Penguin Teen a postcard, then you get a free copy of either If I Stay or Just One Day, and it's your choice which one you get. I think that is so awesome, so definitely check that out and pre-order I Have Lost My Way. Now, I was inspired by this book to talk about some books that help me find my way. So there's always times in life where I feel a little bit lost. Now is one of those times, honestly. I graduated school after having gone to school for my whole life. I'm expected to all of a sudden start a career, so it's a time of a lot of changes, so it's really easy to get caught up in it and feel like I have entirely lost my way. But I do have a few books here that really help to bring me back and really bring me back home and make me feel calm again and like I am found. So I decided to film this video in kind of a more casual setting because it really is a more personal, chatty sort of video. So let's get into the titles that help me to find my way. I'm just going to go ahead and get the obvious ones out of the way. So first of all, we have Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. This is a story that I read time and time again because it reminds me of the wonder that there is in the world, and it also reminds me that reading is a magical thing that is so open to interpretation. I truly believe that no two people read the exact same book because everyone's different and they connect with the story in a different way, so they end up interpreting it in a different way. That is definitely the case with such a nonsensical story as Alice. I studied this all 4 years of my university career with a different professor every time, and every professor had something different to say about it, and I think that just encompasses what this story is. Next is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, who, if you didn't know, is coming out with another book. He just announced it. I am so excited for it. But The Book Thief is one of my favorite books of all time because, kind of like Alice, it reminds me of the magic of books. I think that this story is so touching, and you really see Liesl struggling to understand all the terrible things that are happening around her, but she still is able to find an escape and do something as simple as learning how to read. And this is just such an incredibly beautiful story that every time I read it, it warms my heart, it breaks my heart, it is just amazing. Next is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. This is one of the first books that I remember ever really loving, and really I can read this book or Looking for Alaska or even Turtles All the Way Down now and feel like I'm coming home, because there's just something about John Green's writing that really clicks with me. I think he is an amazing writer. I fell in love with all of his characters, and I think that they are intelligent beyond their years, but not unrealistically. I just feel like he does such a great job of writing teens that are like teens. Maybe not like every teen, but I mean everyone's different. I think this is just a beautiful love story, which once again warms my heart and breaks my heart. I have a thing for books that are just very hard-hitting and make me so sad, but I love them. Next is Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. This is a story that, as a Canadian who grew up with this, and I feel like most Canadians grew up knowing this story, it just brings me back to my roots. I know this is a story that my mom really loves, and that once again is something that makes me really love it, and Anne is just a great character. I found her so annoying when I was a kid, but now that I'm not, her imagination and energy is contagious, and sometimes you need to be reminded that it's okay to be imaginative, and I feel like this is a book that really will reawaken my imagination when I'm struggling with it. Next is A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. This is another story that I grew up with. I actually watched the movie a bunch as a kid, and it was one of my favorite movies. I love Sarah. She is such a compassionate and great storyteller of a character, and this story is just so near and dear to my heart. Next, I have a giant book of fairy tales here because really reading any fairy tales makes me feel like I'm coming home again, because fairy Fairy tales are stories that you grow up with, and coming back to the roots especially of the original fairy tales, even though I wasn't familiar with them as a kid, there's something about it that I can't even really describe what it's like or why it helps me find my way, but it really does. Especially with my writing, I find I draw a lot of inspiration from fairy tales, so reading any of my many fairy tale books definitely helps me. Next is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. This is definitely one of the first YA books that I read just kind of on my own, just because I thought it looked interesting. I remember when this first came out and it was on display in all the bookstores and everything, and I was like, I don't think I can read that, it looks too creepy. But then I finally read it and I was blown away by the inventiveness of this story. I think because I read this so long ago, reading it again now would honestly just bring me back to that time before I read so much. Honestly, when I read this, I probably read a book like maybe once a year, so it's crazy to think how much things have changed. Next is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I feel like this book helps me find my way because of Audrey Rose. Audrey Rose is such an amazing and really inspirational character in my opinion. She's extremely intelligent and she doesn't let social barriers dictate what she's going to do. She just kind of does her thing, and I find her to be a real inspiration because of that. Next is I See London, I See France by Sarah Mlynowski. I feel like this book helps me find my way because it reminds me of last May when I went on a backpacking trip across Europe with my sister for the entire month. Sometimes I think about that and I'm like, did I really do that? Because it was such a whirlwind of a trip, but it was honestly amazing. And this book even has a map. Like, I bought it because of this map, because we went to so many of the places, like 90% of the places on here we have been to. It was really because Interlaken in Switzerland is in there, and I had never seen it in any backpacking books before, so I was like, oh my goodness, I need this. And the nostalgia when I did read it was so strong, and that's why it just really reminds me of those good times that we had. Next is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. This book really just reminds me of myself. I see so much of myself in the character of Molly that sometimes it's scary. But it's interesting because I feel like I'm looking at myself from a bird's eye view. So I think in that respect, that's why this book is really helpful for me, because it helps me to see the flaws that I see in myself in the character of Molly, and then also the good things that I see in myself in the character of Molly. I didn't identify with everything about the character, but there were so many things that I was like, my goodness. Next is The Girl in the Blue Coat by Monica Hesse. This one I decided to include because it makes me think of my family and my ancestors, and really ancestors that weren't that far off, but particularly my grandparents who died before I got the chance to meet them. So on my mother's side of the family, we are Dutch, and this book is set in the Netherlands during World War II. Reading this book, I just thought of all the things that not only my grandparents, but my other relatives who were alive at that time period would have had to deal with. I can't even imagine being the age that they were during that time, because it's not even like you're a kid and you don't understand what's going on. You fully know what's happening, and every second is terrifying. We had relatives who were taken to build trenches. We had relatives who were working in the black market. We had relatives who were sharing information with the British to try and stop this war. So I think reading a book that reminded me so much of the stories that I had been told from the relatives that I have been fortunate enough to speak to, it really reminded me of my heritage and all of the things that I have to be thankful for. Next is The Astonishing Color of After by Emily Axar Pan. This book is really important to me because of its representation of depression and suicide. I feel like nowadays it's rare to find someone who hasn't been touched by mental illness and suicide, and I'm no different. It has affected me in my life greatly, and I think this book is really helpful because it shows that there's no real one reason that you can pinpoint why someone would commit suicide. So I felt like this book was honestly one of the best representations of mental illness that I have ever read. But definitely, if depression or suicide are triggers for you, this would be one to skip. The final book on this list is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I don't even know where to begin with this book, because this book I feel like really shows me a couple of things. It shows me sisterhood, which is something that's really important to me. I'm the youngest of 3 sisters, and being a sister is one of my favorite things. I mean, I have a tattoo that is 3 because I'm the youngest, and I feel like you can only understand what it's like to be a sister if you are one, I guess. But my sisters are really important to me, and family in general is really important to me, so I think that's part of the reason why this book means so much to me. But another thing is, I feel like it shows you the resilience of women, and it shows you the power of women during the war, World War II, and and it was just such a powerful and well done novel, and it just shows you how strong you can be as a woman and how you can stand up against these really formidable forces, and you can fight back even though you're not necessarily given the same resources to fight back as maybe a man would be. You can still make a big difference and prove everyone wrong, which I feel like recent history has really shown. So those are all the books that I turn to help me find my way when I'm feeling a little bit lost. Let me know what books you turn to, because I feel like it's a really interesting topic. Thank you so much to Penguin Teen for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to check out I Have Lost My Way by Gayle Forman. It's out March 27th, but get your pre-order in because you can get a free book. Like, why wouldn't you do that? But the information for that and the link will be down below for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe. I put out new videos every Monday and Thursday, and sometimes bonus videos as well. You can also follow me on my social media. I have Twitter, and my Twitter is at Hailey in Bookland, and I also have Instagram, and my Instagram is at Hailey in Bookland. But all the information and my other social media are down below for you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!